Call this meeting of the ONWASA Board of Directors to order. Call on our CEO, Frankie Howard, to offer the invocation.
Lord, I want you to just thank you for allowing us to be here this evening all together and look over us as we conduct the business of ONWASA, and everything that we do be in the best interest of all of our customers and everyone in Onslow County. And we ask in your name, Jesus Christ, amen.
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 Mayor McDermott will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Those in attendance, please turn your cell phones to off or vibrate. If any individuals will be making presentations, they're asked to adjust the microphones as necessary and speak directly into the microphone. This meeting is being recorded. First item of business, the approval of the agenda. And before we do that, I'd like to have the motion included, an amendment to the agenda being, you have a copy of it, adding business item B, North Carolina Division of Environmental Quality, Division of Water Quality, Spring 2022 application for funding.
Motion to amend the agenda.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next item is to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? We have a special presentation this evening. And I'll call on Tiffany Riggs to do the honors. Tiffany?
Who has worked with ONWASA and the county for the last 31 plus years. When we started reading meters, they were using stone and chisel. Moved on to handwriting, entering the meter readings into a handheld device, and successfully helped us implement over many years an AMR system, which has improved the accuracy and the speed in which we can read meters tremendously. Outside of making the day-to-day operations run smoothly, Richard also spent several nights at the EOC assisting during hurricanes mainly to relieve our safety officer, so he helped a lot with that through the years, as well as just the day-to-day operations. We'll miss his unique humor, his own personal vocabulary, and his sense of fashion, which tonight we were disappointed he didn't wear a short-sleeve shirt so he could roll up his sleeves for us. But he's always willing to help anyone with just about anything. If you ever had the opportunity to be around Richard, we would say you were lucky. He worked at the office hard and away from the office. If you're ever around him, you learn to appreciate his unique humor, and also sometimes finding yourself wanting to be a better person. Richard had a way of bringing out the best in people. So tonight we want to thank you for all the life lessons and countless knowledge on meters in various areas in Onslow County. We'll miss you on a day-to-day basis, but we know that you're just a text or a phone call away. We hope you enjoy your retirement, your first grandbaby. You definitely deserve it.
Thank you. Here's your clock we're going to present you with. And on that, speaking of the EOC, I want to tell one story from Hurricane Florence. So he was at the EOC the night before we were called into work, and I was his supervisor, which kind of was his assistant. And he called me. He said, Kurt, when you get into work, I'd like for you to try to get me home, because Justin had already got him from the EOC. And so I got in the truck. I went around the back road by Ramsey Road. There was a tree down. He said, I'm going to try to climb through that tree, because his house weren't far. I said, no, there's a power line in that tree. Don't climb through it. I don't feel like seeing you get electrocuted. So we went back around all the way to Roachtown Road. Well, the dip before you get to the river on Roachtown Road, there was water. Well, Richard walks through that water chest deep. He gets to the other side. He sees it white capping. He waves me. He said, I can't get across there. So he comes back to my truck. So we try to go Northwest Bridge. It was white capping. He said, well, luckily Richard knows my mom and dad, and we live close right there. My mom and dad had a room, so he went in there and rested a little bit. My dad called me. He said, Richard's brother-in-law is going to meet us. He's going to take a kayak and pull another kayak across Northwest Bridge to the bridge, and he's going to meet us. I said, all right. So me and my dad drove him up there, and Donnie got the kayak across just fine, and Richard was getting in it. He was in it fine, but it wouldn't go. It was on the asphalt. So he went to get out to move it just a little bit, and the current took it, and he was like this right here. And I thought he was fixing to drown. Seriously, I was scared. Because, it was where where Northwest Bridge dips off by the river? Yep. And it was right there. And his kayak, we don't know where it's at to this day. My anxiety after that has been on a different level. Thanks, Richard. But I figured I'd share that story.
We have a lot more, but not all of them are appropriate for television.
We had some good times. He's taught me a lot. I've worked with him I've been on ONWASA for 18 years in August, and I've worked with him every year except for about 4 years, so he's taught me a lot.
We've come a long ways. When I first started, we had about 11,000 accounts, and I think now we got about 56,000 accounts. And had an opportunity to work with some great people, hired a lot of wonderful employees. God has been good to me. This is a fine organization, and I'm just proud to say I work for ONWASA. So.
Thank you very much for your service. We certainly appreciate it.
That's funny.
I thought Richard was going to sing for us before he left.
Somebody said he was a good singer, and he ought to sing.
He's outstanding. Congratulations, Richard.
Capital projects update. Mr. Moore?
Chairman Bender and directors, good evening. I'd just like to say the new CEO, in a shocking lack of good judgment, has asked me to address you again. So, don't hold it against him. As indicated in tonight's agenda, I'd like to take a few minutes this evening to provide an update on several projects within the capital improvement program. This is part of an ongoing effort to keep you informed on key projects as they make their way through the design and construction process. And if I can work the controller. There we go. The first project this evening is the ongoing flood recovery project at Northwest Wastewater Treatment Facility. As noted on the slide, construction is roughly 50% complete, and a few key features are taking shape. This slide is one of the 3 elevated electrical junction panels now in place. As with the other hazard mitigation activities included in the project, these panels are elevated above the 500-year flood event. From the staff in the foreground, and I'm trying to get in good with my CEO because I put him in the picture. You can get a better idea of the height above grade. Basically, we're trying to be between 5 and 6 feet off the ground. Any panel that would have to be accessed, there's actually going to be a stairway and a platform to get to it. The second slide shows the original main electrical building and utility transformer at the plant. Kind of as a reminder, during Hurricane Florence, the floodwaters reached almost to the top of the yellow bollards you see in front of the transformer. The equipment on the left edge of the screen in green is actually a temporary generator that's hooked into the system and helps to run the plant while the permanent generator is being raised and improved. This slide shows the new elevated electrical distribution and control center, along with the new utility transformer that's mounted above the 500-year flood level. The building's constructed of precast concrete panels, similar to the original electrical building, and will be accessed through a pair of stairways with platforms at the front and the back. It's roughly 720 square feet. And as you can see from the ladder, it's that approximately 6 feet off the ground. Interesting enough, it's hard to see in the picture, but actually one of the pieces of electric equipment was so large, they had to set it first and then build the building around it. Hopefully we will not have to replace it in my lifetime. The final picture from Northwest. Work has started on foundations for the 2 flood-resistant buildings that will protect critical equipment. This photo shows the site of the larger building, roughly 3,000 square feet, which will cover blowers and pumps that serve the primary treatment tanks. These 2 buildings will be composite construction. The lower part will be cast-in-place concrete to give flood resistance, and above, roughly 6 feet high, they will be metal, typical pole barn type construction. As mentioned in my December update, on this project, the design engineer and the contractor continue to struggle somewhat on the foundation design, especially on the smaller of the 2 buildings. As they've excavated the ground around, they've found a number of utilities and things that weren't on the as-built drawings, so we're trying to redesign the foundations as we go. Current project completion date is July 22nd. However, expect a second request for additional contract time may be presented by the contractor. We hope in the next couple of weeks to resolve the remaining foundation items and get started on these buildings. The second project this evening is the new water chemistry laboratory at the main office building. Since my last update, work has steadily progressed on both the exterior and interior. Interior detail work, really getting down to the nitty-gritty of drywall and that type of thing, has been delayed because roofing materials, as we saw on the roof replacement project for the main building, had a hard time getting necessary materials to finish the roof and dry in the building so the interior work can proceed. The materials have arrived to the site in the last couple of weeks, and they've started on the roof, so hopefully we'll get that wrapped up quickly. This picture is not particularly glamorous, but I put it in as an active construction photo. This is actually the section of the project between the new addition and the existing warehouse on site. This area won't be visible to the public, but it's very important. It's going to have the HVAC system. Actually, the gravel there is the HVAC pad being constructed. We'll also have storage for the gas cylinders that are necessary for lab operation. On this one, the concrete paving, they've actually poured the slab for the HVAC unit, and the rest of the concrete paving there will be completed in the next week, provided the weather cooperates. My last photo is actually inside the laboratory portion of the building. Roughly half of the building square footage, 2,000 square feet, consists of 2 working areas. This is the organic lab, and then there's a lab prep sterilization area, a manager's office, and a reception area. When completed, the working areas will include casework cabinets, islands, fume hoods, and all the things necessary for us to run the thousands of tests we run a year in our current lab. All existing lab equipment will be moved from the old lab to the new lab building. So we're hoping to kind of pack up, move, and resume in the new spot. Right now, the estimated completion date is in June. The next project, and probably the most successful of our current construction, is the new parts and equipment warehouse. Talked before, it's being built in the parking lot directly behind the main office building. The contractor has not been plagued by some of the material shortages. Of course, the building came all at once, so he didn't have to wait on things like roofing materials. I anticipate the April 12th completion date will be met. Work in the last week, they're installing HVAC, doing site grading and tile work in the bathroom areas. And I've got a couple shots of the interior. This photo shows the main storage area. It's nearly complete. storage racks within the existing warehouse are going to be utilized in the new building. We'll basically take everything off, move the racks over, and then move the materials and put them back on the racks. The building dimensions were actually sized so that we would fit the existing storage capability we had with a little bit of extra for future expansion. While not air conditioned, this part of the building has a number of circulation fans. There's a very large ceiling fan you can kind of see at the top of the picture to keep the air moving in there and help to make it more livable in the summertime. The final photo, and it's kind of a mess, but this is the conditioned space at the end of the building. There'll be 2 staff offices, a restroom, and a utility area. So it's actually, this was taken a couple of weeks ago. It's progressed quite a bit since then. Project I hadn't talked about before, the final construction project this evening is the roof replacement work at the main office facility. The photograph shows the new membrane roof. It's a vast improvement over the previous built-up roof, tar with gravel on top of it. The project's approximately 95% complete and punch list items are being addressed. There's also a small section of this roof that abuts the new lab building, and there's going to be some coordination so both of those get done at the same time. That remains to be done. It's not a glamorous project, but it has corrected a number of frequent roof leaks we've had. Additional insulation was installed, and the white material should help reduce the heat load on the building in the summertime. So it's kind of, I think it's a win in a number of directions. We've had some headaches with the contractor, but the final product is turning out pretty well. We'll talk about a couple of projects in design. The Highway 24 project, Highway 24 utility corridor, that includes the sewage force main between Swansboro and the Piney Green pump station and a water transmission main between the Hubert Water Plant and the Piney Green area. Is moving forward with design. Recent progress, especially since the last time we talked in December, has been slow due to the need for the Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune to complete a mandatory environmental assessment. That assessment actually arrived on my desk today. So finally, after a number of months, we have it in. It appears that they have granted approval for the project. So that's a milestone. We have to do some additional site investigations, I should say the design consultant. And the design should go from 70% to 100% complete fairly rapidly. We were also told this week that a recommendation to grant an easement for the water main's installed parallel to the sewer, but it requires a separate easement. The base is going to complete their recommendation that easement be granted and send it up the chain of command for approval and putting together the actual easement document. On the southeast sewer project, calling it the Companion Wastewater Project, is fully under design. Since we last talked, field investigations for conversion of the Holly Ridge Sprail Field site to infiltration basins has been completed as geotechnical borings and other soils work. Hydraulic modeling to estimate the infiltration capacity of this area is underway right now, and we should have the results by the end of this month. The engineering consultant has also evaluated several types of treatment processes, given the volume and quality of wastewater and the available site we have to work with. And a report with recommendations will be issued by mid-April. We'll take that report and then make a final decision on the treatment process to be used, and then they'll start on design of the actual plant. The goal is still to have the design completed and submitted for permits before the end of this calendar year. That includes the treatment facility, the infiltration basins, and the connecting force mains and pump stations that'll tie everything together. The final one I want to give you an update on is the Topsail Island, the booster pumping station. preliminary design work's been completed. I actually had a review within the last month, and I've asked that the design be altered slightly to reduce the impacts in front of the town hall. Originally going to be quite a bit of open cut, going right through the driveways and some of that landscape feature, and we're changing it to a directional drill so we can go under all of it, not disturb the surface. We've also kind of shifted the location of the connection point to the existing pipelines. It's just at the bottom of the picture. We're preparing a package to be submitted to the town on the temporary and permanent easements required to construct all the facilities. I went through it kind of fast, but that's my update on the capital improvements. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
I do have one question, sir. So have you reviewed this North Topsail one with the town manager?
I have not yet. The approach, and I need to actually talk with the new CEO about it, would be to put together a package. We need to define specifically what the easement areas are and the amount. And I want to put something together and even include a potential easement document and submit that all as one, so you can see I don't want to just send a map and then have to try and explain it back and forth.
Okay. I just know the proposed location where it needs to be is going to, we have some storage there now.
Right.
So I just would like to try and get that location agreed upon.
Okay.
Before we go too far with
Right.
all the documents.
Yeah, we're doing the design as we can on the building, but
Okay.
yeah, understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aside from all these projects, David, what are you doing with your spare time?
A few things. So,
Any questions about any of the projects for David? If not, let me see, do you want to stay there and do the grant application, or is that yours, Frankie?
yeah, I'm gonna dive in if need be.
Okay, we're moving on to the resolution that was added to the agenda for the project's grant application.
First of all, thank you all for adding that to the agenda. I do apologize for a late add, but this was a timely project that we needed some attention to. So as I reported in the email and then the documents that you have before you this evening, we're asking for your approval through this resolution to apply for this grant through the North Carolina Department of Environment Quality and their Division of Water Quality for their spring 2022 funding cycle. Our consultants at W.K. Dixon were the ones who actually brought this to our attention, that we could potentially seek a grant for some planning and evaluation stuff that we're already looking forward to doing in the near future. So working with our staff, David and Tiffany, we've looked at what we've got on the horizon, and we've got this slate of items that equal up to the 400,000. So if there's any questions about sort of what those are and how they assist us in the future, I've got David here to help with that, or Mr. Moore, and we can explain that a little bit further. But what we're basically doing is asking that we can apply for this grant that's due May 2nd through our consultants. Met with them yesterday, like I mentioned, and they've basically got 3 staff members. That's all they do. They seek these types of funding for utilities, so we'll seek their expertise to make sure we get the documents like they need to be successful. And again, this is for our raw water side. We know based on reports from staff and looking at our growth pattern, we won't be long before we're needing additional capacity in the raw water side. So we need to be thinking ahead of that process, and this sort of gets us the modeling and the evaluation to be set to do some of the design work that David has been talking about, some of the CIP stuff that's down the road. So.
Can I?
Yep.
Can I add? It's kind of a 3-pronged approach. We're looking at the raw water sources, new wells, potential to develop things that have not been developed before, and increase our raw water capacity. The CIP includes a 3rd water treatment facility. We're going to get with the funding, we're going to get a jump start on evaluating a site we have for that and determining the treatment process to be used. And then I think it's very important, the first 2 bullet items, we're going to use our water model to look at our existing system closely and determine if there's areas that are causing us headaches in terms of getting the water around the system and around the county. We know there are some areas where water lines are are undersized, or not installed and need to be installed in certain areas, so we're gonna take a look at that as well. So it's kind of a, I don't know, call it cradle to grave, but we're looking at all three aspects of it. And I'd like to stress that this grant is not just a planning grant, but it also pays for preliminary design work. So things like the water plant at Union Chapel, it's not just to say, yeah, you could build it there, but to actually come up with a product that gives you, okay, this is the treatment process we need to use, and here's about what it's gonna cost and how it would lay out. So that's important to me. We need to get something that we can use, not just another study.
Good point. I'm glad they expanded this program to allow for more funding, basically to do what he's talking about, not just another study, that we'll have access to. This is actual product that will move us one step further, so.
Are all these activities programmed to continue if we don't get the grant?
Yes. Yeah, it would be self-funded. Like I said, the water plant itself is in the CIP, so it would come at some point down the road. I have kind of an initial phase on the raw water side. I'm utilizing money I have this year, and I've asked for money in the next budget to bring on a consultant to review all our well sites and give us recommendations on new well sites. So that's going to go forward regardless. It certainly would be nice to have somebody else pay for
When will we have a
it.
decision on the grant?
I did not get an answer for that, but I don't think it's going to be very, I mean, it's a short turnaround. They just released this in February and asking for their application in May. So it is part of some of the American Rescue Plan recovery program monies through the state. So it's a quick turnaround, I see. I did not get an actual date on when they would announce it, though.
I'm not sure.
Any questions of David or Frankie?
Motion to approve a resolution to apply to the NCDEQ Division of Water Infrastructure spring application for funding for the upcoming planning needs to support our raw water master plan.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the matter? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is adopted.
Thank you.
We have anybody from the public for public comment?
Sir.
Chief Executive Officer's comments?
Job, so I do appreciate all the support from your staff, from my staff. It's been a smooth transition. I think I mentioned this in my report this week. Everybody's been very welcoming and providing information when asked, and all the weekly updates that they're giving very thorough updates. So therefore, I can turn around and give you guys a very thorough weekly update. So very thankful for what they have done so far. Been setting up meetings with our partners, towns, and various agencies, and on the base as well. And I think that's helped with some of the projects that we've got with the base. So continue to set up meetings. Got one coming up here with the city of Jacksonville. Part of the meetings that I was able to participate in, which I'm very thankful for, were our first round of budget meetings. They sort of lined up with my very first week on the job. So I don't know if they strategically did that or not, but it was very helpful, very thorough. The staff definitely do a great job in preparing for that so that we can better understand their needs out in the departments. So I'm very thankful. Our second round of budget meetings will come up in April, give us a chance to sort of dive into a little bit deeper. And then hopefully, just speaking of budgets, timeline for that, we'll have something for you all to look at in May, and for a goal to have that approved by June. So it's underway, and I look forward to continue that process and coming up with a final budget. So.
Well, I think you're off to a good start, and I appreciate it, as I'm sure the other board members, the memos and other information you've sent out to us, keeping us apprised of developments and areas of concern. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Couldn't do it without the staff and the leadership team. So.
Any questions of the director from the board? Board of Directors comments. We'll start with Paul.
I'm good. Everything's all right over here.
He's afraid to talk now.
A little island.
Jeff?
It's good to have you on board, Frankie.
Thank you, sir.
And
I just want to welcome you too, sir. I'm glad that you made it through your first couple weeks.
So far, so good. Drinking from the fire hose. So.
Bob?
No comments.
Okay, Tim?
Chuck, you did a great job in your 6 days as interim. We appreciate your efforts.
Just don't
Great
overlook that
job.
important
And
fact.
Richard, congratulations. Known you for a few years, and good man, and we appreciate your commitment and work that you've done. And Frankie, welcome aboard, and when you're drinking from that fire hose, make sure it's hooked up to the right part of ONWASA.
Yes, only ONWASA water. That's it.
Pat?
Frankie, welcome aboard, and Richard, congratulations on your retirement, and thank you for all your service.
Royce?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Richard. We appreciate your work, and Frankie, it's good to have you aboard, and that's all I got to say.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to thank Chuck too for his interim stewardship, although getting that memorandum after a couple days on the job about a sore leaker, I said, I hope this is an harbinger of things to come. So thanks for holding the ship steady. Nothing else to come before the board. I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Okay, we are adjourned.
All right.